Here's the basic tutu that I'm going to show you how to make. It is really fluffy and full, which is what we want when we make our tutus. Now, there's really two basic parts to any tutu. First is our waistband. As you can see here, I just have an elastic waistband that I've created. So the first part I'm going to show you is how to make your elastic waistband for any tutu. And then the second part is our tulle strips that we're going to use to wrap around the waistband to create our fluffy and full tutu. So let's get started. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a basic tutu. For this one, I have cut 18 inches of my elastic. Now, if you'd like, you can also use the 1/2 inch non-roll elastic instead. I'm using the 1 inch because I do like it thicker. I've cut 18 inches. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. And we're just going to bring the ends together. Just like that. If you'd like, you can pin it in place. We're overlapping this just about 1/2 inch, no more. And you are going to need to do some basic stitching here. Now you can also use some stitching in a tube if you'd like, but I do not suggest it because it can come undone. So if you know how to just do some basic sewing, we're just making sure that we go ahead and stitch this together because this is our waistband. You want to keep these straight. So of course pin it if you'd like. I am not a sewer, but I can do this much sewing, so hopefully this will work for you. Now I do have some more size waistbands in the manual. Also, I do suggest that you just go ahead and measure your child's waist and then add 1 to 2 inches. I would add at least 1 inch because when you add all of the tulle around the waistband, it is going to make that waistband slightly smaller and you don't want it to be too tight on your little girl. Oops. My thread is just stuck on my needle back there. There you go. See, I'm probably the world's worst sewer and I can make tutus, so you definitely can do it too. All you need to do is just make stitches so this holds in place. Now, if you wanted one that was truly completely no-sew, I will tell you this much. You can go to Walmart or really any drugstore. Go ahead and get, I believe the brand is Goodies. I think that's the kind that I use. You can get their hair bands and use those. However, they're not going to be very thick. I think they're only about like 1/4 inch thick. But if you really don't want to sew, that is one way that you can do it. Okay, and I'm almost at the end here, just a couple more. Really easy. I mean, this is all the sewing that you're going to need to do, so don't worry about it. Alright, I'm just going to pull on it and make sure that it is tight enough. If it's not tight enough, go back down again because you don't want this to come apart. Okay? And all I'm going to do is take the needle out then, just tie this off and cut off the extra string. Alright, now that we have our waistband complete, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out so you can see the tutu. Okay, now that we have our waistband ready, we're going to need to cut our tulle. For this one, since I'm making a tutu for a 12-month-old, I'm going to make it about 8 inches long, so I need 16-inch strips of tulle because it's going to be folded in half at the waistband. So I've just marked off 16 inches, and this is a really great tip. If you don't have a ruler that you're using, go ahead and just tape down in a couple spots your measuring tape so that it stays on the table. And then all you do is just need to cut straight through there. There you go, it's 16 inches. Then just put it aside, roll it out to the 16-inch mark or whatever you're using. If you need different sizes, just check in the manual. There you go. I'm just going to keep doing this. And here's a good way to figure out how many strips you need. Now remember, my waistband was 18 inches. And I am going to use about 5 of these for every inch of waistband. So I'm just going to have to do a little bit of math here. I'm going to need to multiply the number of inches of my waistband times 5, and that will tell me how many strips. So I'm just going to grab my calculator, do a little bit of math, and then that's when I know I can stop cutting. So if you're making this, just go ahead and count how many strips you're making. Now I'm talking at the same time, so I'm going to have to stop and count them, but I'm just going to keep going because I know it is quite a bit. And I did some math before to see how many rolls of tulle that I needed, and I got about 2.5 rolls. So I know that I have to do at least two rolls. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this one roll and count how many I have, and then I'll see how many I can get out of the other ones. Alright, and this is all that we're doing, just making very straight cuts. This rotary cutter is just such a lifesaver. So much easier than scissors, and it gets it straight every time as long as you go straight. And again, you can get a cutting mat if you'd like, or you can go ahead and use a cutting board if you have an extra plastic cutting board. Since I have a craft table, I'm just doing it right against the table. But if you don't want to ruin your table, definitely don't use the rotary cutter. Alright, well I'm just going to keep going here, and then I'm going to show you the next step. Alright, I am about halfway done. I have completed the whole first roll and have this big pile of tulle strips here. Remember, I'm working with 16 inches, so I have these all set. Now, I'm going to just remind you of this. It's also in the manual, but here goes. If you want to know how many strips you're going to need to make, you are going to take your waist size in inches and then multiply it times 5 or 6. Now you'll figure out how many knots you're going to get per inch. I tend to do about 5. So if you do 6, if yours are a little bit closer, you are going to want to use the number 6, but I'm going to use 5 since I get 5 knots per inch. Then I'm going to multiply it times the length of tulle that I'm using. So for this, it is 16 inches. And that gives me a total inches, which for mine, 18-inch waistband with 16-inch strips that I'm using, times the 5, I got 1,440. Now all I'm going to do, that's inches, and we need yards because our fabric comes in yards. Go ahead and simply type into Google search the number of your total inches, 2 yards. So I typed in 1440 inches, T-O yards, and I got an answer. Oh, and my answer was 40 yards. So I know that I need 40 yards, and each of these rolls is 25. So I'm going to need just under 2 rolls for this tutu, which is not bad. These rolls cost about $3. So for less than $6, or right around $6, because I did have the elastic waistband, I'm making a tutu that you'll see for sale online and in boutiques for anywhere from $40 to $50, I'm sure. So that's all that you need to know. I'm halfway done. I have done 25 yards. I need another 15 yards. I'm going to make a couple extra just in case I do 6 knots per inch, and then I'll have some extra, and then we can get started on making our tutu. Now, one thing that I just want to remind you is I know it just takes a long time to cut all these strips, but it will really pay off if you take your time and make sure that you have a straight cut. Your tutu is just going to look so much better. So especially if you're selling these, you want them to look perfect. Be sure that all of your cuts are straight and nice. You don't want them jagged. So go ahead and even just take a look at them and just make sure that they look good. If you're rushing, go ahead right now and make sure they're straight. Before you get them on the tutu, it'll be a lot easier. All right, let me finish cutting these and then we'll start assembling our tutu. All right, now that we have all of our tulle set, I'm going to show you how to attach it to the waistband. So you have this, you just want to fold it in half so that your ends are exactly even. And you just are going to hold it in the shape of an upside down U. You see how I did that? Now you're going to come and bring your elastic right on top of it, okay? My fingers up here that I'm wiggling, that is the top of the U. And I'm going to take my bottom right here, these bottom legs, bring them up, stick them through the middle of the U there, and just make a nice knot. And I'm just pulling that through. That's all you do, just pull those bottom legs through the top of the U, and then pull on these to make sure that they're even. This will take a little bit of practice, but soon you'll be doing this in no time, and you'll get this much faster. And just slide these together as close as possible. As you add more, we're going to slide them together. So see, I'm just pulling that pretty tight, but not too tight to wrinkle up the waistband. So there's our first one. Now just slide it around and make sure that those are even, because those are a little uneven. So I'm just going to need to play with this. All right. There's our first one. Now I'm going to take the next one and do the exact same thing. Put it right next to it, and we're just going to keep going around. And then when I'm about halfway done, I will stop and show you what to do at the halfway point. So that's all I'm doing. And then just put it right beside each other, scrunching them up. Remember, we're going to have about 5 to 6 of these per inch on here. So they're really going to be tight together. So we're just going to keep doing that. Add another one. And this is a really nice craft because once you get the hang of it, after you've watched this video and done this once or twice, you can start sitting in front of the TV and watching and doing this. Watching TV and doing this can be really a lot of fun because you'll get the hang of it. And you can just keep going. And again, as you can see, this is a very short tutu. Some of the other ones we're going to make are a lot longer, but when you're making a tutu for an infant, it can't be that long because it will be down past their ankles. You don't want that. All right, I'm just going to keep going, and I'll stop at the halfway point and show you what to do next. Okay, now that I'm about halfway done with my tutu, I'm going to stop and go ahead and pull the elastic and just make sure that these are all really tight and close together. And look at that, we have so much more room, but it's going to make our tutu much fuller, and then we're not going to be able to see any of those white marks coming through from the elastic. So just scrunch it together so that you don't see any marks or any little elastic peeking through. See, I'm just pulling and pushing, I guess you could say, just pushing it down. And look at, we have a lovely waistband forming and a great little tutu. Now remember, this is really tiny because it is for a 12-month-old, so it's not very long, and it's only about 18 inches around the waist. So I'm just going to continue to do this, and then I'm going to stop when I'm about 3/4 the way through, when I'm almost done, and then I'm going to do that same pushing action, push it all together, and that's when I will pick up and show you again. Now this took me about 5 minutes to do about half of it, so it really doesn't take long, and I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, and I'm actually just watching some TV while I'm doing this. So again, once you learn how to do it, it's a lot of fun, and it can be really, really relaxing, and look, it's just so cute how it's coming out already. So I will see you in just a second. Now I'm not all the way done yet, but I did want to stop and just give you one more tip before I forgot. Now, if you're having trouble getting these ends to stay exactly even while you're knotting them, here is a little bit of a tip. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make my upside down U, and I'm going to put it on right behind the elastic, and then to get them to stay even, I'm going to just, see how I did that? Just run my fingers down to the ends, and I'm going to take and pinch the ends. Then I'm going to take those pinched ends, and they are exactly the same length, and I'm going to bring them through and take them and pinch them with my other fingers just to bring it through, and there you go. I mean, that's just a really simple way if you want to make sure that they're exactly even. If you're having trouble doing that, just remember to keep them pinched And if you need to transfer them to the other hand, just pinch them with those fingers as well, and look, they're perfectly even. So that's a little tip just if you're having difficulty, because I know that can sometimes be frustrating for a beginner tutu maker, and just wanted to share that with you. Okay, so when I'm about 75% of the way done, I'm going to stop again and just pull my elastic band out. See, I'm just stretching this out just a bit. Oops, make sure this one's on tight. That's the last one I did, and I didn't tie it tight enough. Okay, and then just go around and check your waistband to make sure that you don't have any elastic showing and that it's all even. And then once you're happy with that, you have some more space to work with, and we can continue making our tutu. But I think it's coming out great. It's really looking wonderful, and we're almost done. So I just have a few more to add to finish this up, and then I'll show you the completed tutu. But this is all you need for a basic tutu. All right, I'm just about done. As you can see, there's just about an inch left there. And I just want to give you some tips as you're going to do the last couple strands. Make sure you really separate this, and when you are pulling your tails up, make sure that you're not getting any of the other pieces of tulle in there with your knot, because then you're just going to have a mess. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to separate this, get this as full as possible. Just make sure that your tails are even. Pull this through. Okay, now what I want to do, since I'm pretty much complete, I might go back and add another one, but I think this is good. I want to just go ahead and feel the waistband, because there are some spots where you see this spot really feels bunched up, so it's probably a little bit too thick. I'm just separating it with my fingers just a little bit. Just go around and make sure all of your waistband feels even, and you could even just pull it a little bit and you'll see some spots there that are white. Now if this is going to stretch out around your little girl's waist, you don't want those white spots to show when you stretch it out a little bit. Again, if you wanted to use a black elastic, then you wouldn't really have to worry about that, but you want to make sure that it's full, evenly, and all around. And this is just adorable. Now, this length of a tutu skirt would be fine for a little girl too if you wanted to do just a short one. So now I'm just going to show you the completed project because I have it finished. Now, if you do see that any of the ends of your tutu, like this one right here, are a little bit too long, you can go ahead and just trim it. So all you want to do is, before you sell it or put it on your little girl, just go ahead and look around and make sure if there's any sticking out too far that you go ahead and just trim it up.